Hello, everyone. Eileen here. I've been kind of getting the nudge to share more with you in video form. I'm getting to a place where writing it all out is just not working for me so much anymore. Translating the data that is coming in, all the changes that are happening in the consciousness of many. It makes it a lot more challenging to reduce to words. It's very, very experiential at this stage. And so I feel that one of the things that I might be able to help with is not to explain things to you as much as just modeling it for you. Just saying, this is what is happening to me as someone who has been preparing, let us say, my whole life to be present at this time, to understand on an energetic level, to tune into the essence of the energetics, to translate that for you so that you might receive some reflection in, affirming where you are or what you've been feeling. I have found that to be very, very valuable in my life, to have these very strong and wonderful individuals in human form help me and guide me by reflecting to me that what I'm receiving is in resonance with what they are receiving. And that helps a lot. It can be a very, very lonely place indeed if you don't have this kind of reflection. So what I speak about is not really designed to reach the more of the consensus reality. Those who are searching out data to, let's say, satisfy more of our egoic nature that needs answers, and it needs answers because it's always had answers given to it from its environment, what it was born into. And now that these structures are dissolving and the way that we have organized our reality seems to be dissolving, where do we go? Where do we find explanations? We don't want explanations anymore. We need to drop down into essence. And we need to remember how to receive our data from within our being. Once we remember how to resonate again with, let us say, the cosmic field, then we can find those matching resonances within our world and with each other as we open up and expand our greater nature, our original design. Then we can start to reflect with others about this and find our way forward together. Turn my phone off. So yesterday morning, I did my usual Sunday morning connecting time. I made a video of that last Sunday. This time it was a rather personal dialogue, and I was asking for guidance about after experiencing really big changes in my consciousness in the past week or so. This has been happening since the end of 2019. And just when I think I'm done with it and okay, phew, I've integrated that, or I am in the process of integrating all of these changes and all of these inflows of information, then it just starts all over again. And it becomes very challenging for me to stay engaged, with social media, and correspondence is sometimes a little slow from me because I'm just so in these accelerated changes right now, and I say this out loud to you so that if you're experiencing something like this, then you can go, oh good, it's not just me. That helps a lot, doesn't it? In the way that I was taught throughout my life, everything has been a teaching in these interactions with non-human intelligence, these extraordinary mystical experiences that opened my consciousness and changed me fundamentally, a few decades ago, and even, like I said, back into childhood. It just kind of set me up for this path to be able to hear and see and know, these shifts in energy. I learned how to surf, basically, surfing these waves of energetics that take us into these next new stages of adapting to another whole new kind of environment where we have to stop and integrate and reorient. So these changes in our consciousness that are happening now here in 2020, they've been happening, but they're very, very accelerated right now because of the, you've heard me talk about the Mayan calendar. I've talked about it with Eduardo Griego Gonzalez, the Mayan priest. We're fully in this right now, and this window is open. This portal is open. So I wanted to kind of give you an update based on what I received yesterday. What's happening now is I'm going to frame it first in an analogy that I was given through a Sound of Gold message. I can't even remember what year it came in. It must have been, I'm feeling like 5 or 6 years ago. And it was an analogy to the Panama Canal. And it was showing me in my mind's eye as I'm translating and bringing through the message that it's very similar to the Panama Canal. And with the Panama Canal, the ship comes in and it's in a section where it sits, and then the water raises it up to meet the next level. And then the ship moves in and is there until that section is lifted up to meet the next section, until eventually it meets the level of the sea. And so with this analogy, it is the same thing with our consciousness. We are being given these opportunities to rise with the frequencies, move with them instead of resisting them. Resisting them manifests in a variety of ways. But rising with these waters and moving to the next phase where we adapt to that, we integrate that, and then it rises to the next level and then out to meet these universal energies again. It's still a process. It's still an orientation once we get to the sea. But this is a very kind of simplistic way of looking at how our consciousness is being changed to make this monumental transition from a three-dimensional perspective to a fully multidimensional way of being. And this is not necessarily evolution. It is a restoration coming from this three-dimensional environment. It's a restoration of our natural state. It is restoring and reactivating, bringing online our original design. And we are literally encoded with this. We have all of this data within us. Everyone has this treasure within that they will rediscover if they choose to. The way in which I was taught to do this consciously was through many, many experiences in contact with what was first presented as, like ET, different forms of ET and visitations, and in some cases what some might describe as abduction. We are all translating that based on our filtering, based on our shadow, the traumas within. On the higher dimensional levels, this is presence, this is love, this is pure love. And these are aspects of our own consciousness coming in to reconnect with us. And just like in the dream state, we can have these monsters come and frighten us. We can have nightmares and, oh my God, what was that? Those who study their dreams will tell you that this is just, it's an amazing tool to study our dreams, to write our dreams down, and to begin to open to, what is this telling me? What is my subconscious telling me? What are these buried pieces of me? What is it that it wants to communicate to me? And it's usually, hey, you forgot about this pain, or you're trying to hide this, or you're avoiding this aspect of yourself. And if we really embrace it and work with our dreams, we can start to integrate some of this debris that we have. We think because we stuff it down and we pretend it's not there, that we're fine, right? In these times when these higher vibrational energies are pouring in from the center of our galaxy, which is what the Maya talked about and what the Hopi calendar is about, the Vedic calendar, it all pointed to this time as a transition from one world, one way of being, has come to a completion. There's other parts of that where this particular reality and focus has perhaps been hijacked in a way to where we were taken a little bit off course of what would have naturally unfolded in our evolution. And this has been described as, in the Gnostic terms, as the archons, the energies that that kind of feed off of fear and can and do, can and have worked with other human beings on the planet. There are human beings on the planet who aren't fully human. And some of these people have worked. I keep putting it in past tense because they don't have that power right now, this off-planet archonic type energy. This was released, and I can talk more about that another time. But what the Sound of Gold messages, these transmissions that I've brought through about this process, the Panama Canal and everything that goes with it, to merge back with the oneness or the unified field consciously. It has I've been shown, these darker forces that have been at play because we were specifically pummeled with media and material and in our institutions and schooling, it infiltrated all of that. And we have been stifled and suppressed from our natural state. And now there is this opening in between worlds, and there is nothing that these darker forces actually can do at this moment as we navigate back to this remembrance. Actually, let me correct that. What they can do is pummel you with fear. These human beings now who are kind of fighting over who's going to manage humanity and who's going to essentially take humanity into releasing all connections to soul. As a mass population, we're only using a very, very, we're only conscious of a very small amount of soul. It has been conditioned out of us to value the soul, to value the feminine. And so what this opening is now that this transformation of our consciousness and our navigation into a new world and a new way of being is occurring, we are able to make these choices now, these greater choices, if we can feel, or we can watch other people do it and watch how they shift and change into, more of an embodiment of soul, an embodiment of love, and a practice of it that is not based on anything that we were necessarily taught in the world. It does not fit into organized religion. It doesn't fit into what we've been educated with. It's, in fact, everything that has come from these institutions has been designed to keep us in this smaller bandwidth of consciousness that is not natural for us. And that's why it's been so very difficult for a lot of us to live here and to still be alive at this stage. We're constantly bombarded by toxins in our food and in our air, in our water. At this timing, it's the way I was shown was we are moving with the earth, in connection with the earth into her new form. This world, as we have known it, is the changes are not going to happen in the world as we have known it. That is crumbling, that is dissolving. I started being shown this, 15 years ago, not even having the context of what's happening now, that these systems would fail, leadership would fail. Everything that we had built our identities around that is attached to the world, if that's who we think we are, then we will fall with that as well. So that's why it's very, very important now to be connected to soul, to be connected to that which is real. And what is real within us is this treasure within, the truth, the absolute truth that lives within all of us. So when we're trying to find truth in the outer world, the egoic mind, when it gets panicky and says, I don't know what the truth is, somebody has to tell me, because we're always used to receiving this data from our outer world, from the television set, from the radio, what have you. And so when that starts to fail, we feel like there's nowhere for us to go because we are identifying with the system. It's important that we at least be willing to stop the energetic investment in what has always been and be open to turning in the direction of expansion. So that is what is available to us now, is expansion into the restoration of our original state. The ego is extremely uncomfortable with uncertainty. It's always been fed data. And when the data is not reliable anymore from the outer world, there is a lot of this programming that has been in place. There is some massive disinformation, even to the level of mind control and psyops that is occurring. And what happens is they understand the psychology of the human being. They understand that you need to be fed something. So if you have something presented to you that has some truth in it, or something that you feel emotionally charged about, and it offers truth, the stuff you're emotionally charged about, and then a couple other things that are like, well, that's kind of weird, but this, and this, so I'll buy the whole package because I have to have an answer. I have to have an explanation. You don't have to have an explanation. It's okay to be uncertain right now. It's okay to just let it go and say, I don't know what's happening. There must be a better way to be informed. And there is. There's a way to be informed by this love that lives at the core of your being. By what Christians, with Jesus Christ, who said, the treasures of heaven are within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And that is true. We have never, as a mass population, been willing to go to that place because there's always a distraction. There's always someone telling you what to think and what to believe in the outer world. We're moving from, just the rational thinking, it's got to make sense within context of everything that we've ever known, into this no longer works. I don't know what it is that I'm moving into, but I need to let this go, be uncertain for a while. It's okay to be uncertain and to begin to go within. And I've shared the ways that I was taught in how to go within. And basically that is being willing to dialogue with these parts of your being that are suppressed. So what they taught me through these interactions is to always be aware of what you're feeling in any given moment and speak it out loud. Like whenever you could just be driving in your car and go, oh yeah, you know, what am I feeling now? And have this be from the perspective of this, of an angel or of Jesus or Buddha, whoever you imagine is someone who is completely unconditional with you and wants to know, wants to see you, wants to engage with you. Keep hearing that question, what are you feeling now? And then answer it. And then when it comes out of your mouth, it will either match your body and the energetics of your body, or it will be discordant. It will not be true. Or it will be so superficial that you're not making a musical connection. I'm a singer-songwriter, so everything about this is music. And how it feels in my body when I speak. Is this the truth? Is it in harmony with my being? And therefore in harmony with the band around me? Because if I'm not in harmony, then the whole band is going to suck, right? And then it's not going to be pleasant for anyone to be around. So it always comes back to the individual and how aligned you are with your own truth, your own authenticity. And these words have been bantered around for quite some time, but there is meaning here. There is a way to find this and rediscover this and pull this authenticity through. And it's by speaking the truth and continuing to go to deeper levels of the truth. Be vulnerable. Say this out loud. Some people have trouble even being honest when they're all by themselves. And that's how this practice works in the beginning, is getting to know what is true for you and hearing the harmonics of that. It's the harmonics of the truth that eventually through this practice lock you into a resonant field, and you'll actually feel that. That's palpable. And this is how we can begin to dialogue with these archetypal energies. We want to integrate this so that we can move across this threshold between worlds. It is based on vibration. So if we are holding on to and hiding all of these shadow parts of ourselves and therefore not speaking the truth out into our world and to each other, then we stay in that bandwidth and we continue to build our lives and making sense within this bandwidth instead of expanding into more of a multidimensional understanding and making sense in context, if you will, of the unified field. So instead of these pockets of fragmented consciousness and building and creating and getting informed from other humans, we end up remaining where we are. The other thing that happens is we then don't unlock. You see, like back to the Panama Canal, we don't end up unlocking into the next phase. When we reach a certain vibration in our body, our being, our consciousness, our hearts, these openings occur, these doorways open within us, and suddenly we just have all this new awareness and all this new understanding. And it's amazing when it happens. And then over time, we start to integrate that. And by the time we integrate that, we're being lifted into a new phase. So if we're working through the fears, we're facing the fears, we're conscious, we're engaged, we're dialoguing with these aspects of ourselves, this will continue to unlock us until we are able to meet this universal sea. So what I was informed of in this message yesterday that I brought through, because I was feeling very different. Things have been accelerating quite a bit for me. I can't even keep up with the acceleration to where, I didn't even know how to define myself anymore. Like, my website is so, to me, in my opinion, out of date with who I have become. It was 2 years ago. But I feel like every week I am a different, more expanded version of myself. I'm embodying more of this love. I'm making the space for it. I'm getting this light information pouring in. It's becoming more clear. I'm being directed by this. I'm being guided by this. What they showed me is that the self with a small s is on this side of the wall, the perimeter of this lower matrix, if you will. And we're sending out and we're strengthening this connection, this tie, this weaving to our greater self, the self with a capital S. And this is what is pulling us through this portal, if you will. This making this connection and this constant, conscious connection with the self with a capital S. Many of us get to this, what they have referred to as a paradoxical wall, the wall of paradox, where it's like, okay, that's not working. I don't want to be there. So how do I get out of here, right? And it can't be done on one of these lower levels of the Panama Canal. It's like our ship is here and the sea is up here. And we're saying, this doesn't make sense. That is like unobtainable. How do I get from here to here? And I'm not going to back up at this point. I'm already on, like the second, pocket of the Panama Canal. I think they're called locks. I'm not sure. So you feel stuck and trapped and there's no way out. A lot of times this is the stage or the phase where people sometimes commit suicide because they can't see their way forward. They just see that they're stuck here. Well, it isn't through thinking that we get here. It isn't through figuring it out intellectually. It's a transformation of your consciousness that opens up this information system that shows you each step, and you just keep following and following and following that, no matter what's going on around you. That's the tough part. Is you can get swayed by what other people are saying, and is that the answer back in the world? Oh, okay. And some people are trying to go back because somebody says that the resolution is happening in that world as we've known it. It's not, the resolution is not happening there. We must shift our consciousness to move into, to be able to match the frequency, physics-wise, to attune to that so that we can lift our ship and begin to sail in these universal waters. So briefly, I was shown that there are a lot of people at the base of this wall and having this, existential crisis of how to navigate this. And there is going to be some kind of an event, inner or outer or both, that those who are ready, who have basically surrendered and said, I don't know, but I choose love, and I know that I'll be guided. And so there's that deep faith and trust in that creator source, that love that has always been available to us, that is us. We just have reached a place where we can trust. So we're standing at the base of this wall and we're saying, I don't know. I don't know. And there's no certainty here, but I trust in love. And these are the people who are at this vibrational level who will move across this threshold. And it's like being on this side of the wall, and then the next thing you know, you're on the other side of the wall and you're in a different kind of world and reality, but it is still a version of Earth. It is, I can't go too much into that because I don't have time. But I'm just saying what I was shown in the message yesterday, that this is going to happen, and it's not going to happen way far away. It's going to happen in 2020, it feels like. Beyond that is, for those who have crossed into this threshold, this is like the splitting of the earth or the shifting of earth realities. So you will find yourself there, and there will be a certain amount of, there will be groups of people who maybe didn't ever consider themselves spiritual and didn't have a spiritual identity and had a very difficult life, but they have held that love and that compassion for humanity and have been in service. But they have never been, preoccupied with, seeking or anything. They just embody it. They've just been being it. So there's those kinds of people that will be there, and they could be someone who's in a mental institution, someone who's in prison, someone who's an addict. These people who just could not, either were of service in the ways that they could in the environments they were in, or they just simply shut down and could not function in the world at all, but they're still alive and vibrating at this, level of higher love. So there will be some broken people who make it across this threshold. There will also be a lot of people who have been preparing for this their entire lives, or lifetimes, if you will, for this crossing over. And they will be there as healers and comforters, supporters of this reorientation into multidimensionality. Now, I got the very strong sense that the window is now closing. So this portal is now closing. It was expanding it's been expanding over the past probably decade or so. We just weren't aware of it because the world was working for us. Now that we're in this, the world isn't working. There's a lot more opportunity for more to come online and realize that they were preparing for this all along, and to engage consciously in this dialogue with the self and all the archetypal energies, to come back online and to say, yes, remember who you are, remember who you are. You don't have to be that. You don't have to move with the people that are resisting love and the people who are choosing to contract once again, to begin the contraction phase again, which is, the way it's like the precession of the equinox. It's the 26,000 year cycle. Doesn't mean that you're trapped there forever and never have another opportunity until another 26,000 years. But this is part of the grand cycles of the cosmos. And when there's an opportunity like this for humanity, it's important for people to know that they have this opportunity to rise to their highest level and to restore and remember and live the lives that they had always dreamed of living. So there's a lot more I could say about that, but I wanted to share that particular message and vision, and that there's so much to be excited about. But we must be willing to face the shadow. We must be willing to face the fears, because we cannot take those across this threshold. We must be an open vessel so that we can hear and see and restore. Now, see, the Christians call this the rapture. This is I can see that this would be the rapture in the biblical sense. But I recently wrote a blog post about what I was shown from this presence, that it is, it's, they say in the rapture, it's the bridegroom, the Christ, returning to meet with the bride. And it has been translated by the institution, the church, that the bride is the church. And the bride is within each individual. The bride is that divine feminine force within that has been suppressed. So Christ is coming to return to meet with his bride, the feminine. And this is what ignites within us this restoration of our natural state and how we were originally designed to be. And this is a glorious celebration. But this is done on an individual level. This is not just because you belong to a certain club and you recite certain things and you follow all the rules of an institution, a man-made institution. That does not guarantee your, you maybe not be available for this igniting within you, this direct connection to Christ in terms of Christianity. We must all take responsibility for that within ourselves. And it's important that people know, maybe see this through a different lens. Somebody who, went to church when I was a kid, but just kind of left organized religion because I was having direct experiences, and that informed me in greater ways than a church could ever inform me. There are lots of beautiful people doing beautiful things in these group church organizations. I'm not saying that's not happening, but this igniting of your heart and your being, it happens in you, and by your permission and by your engagement with it. And this is just some of the things that I have learned throughout my life of contact in this way, and the Kundalini Koyopa events. So this is, the other thing that I experienced is the recent dream a few weeks ago of being out in a field with a white sky and then these gold lights, these ships that arrived in the sky, and it was, informing me that we're here. And so that gold and that white, I do translate as the bridegroom. that this presence is here and this is happening. It was an extraordinary dream, which all I could do was write a poem about it, which I posted on my blog. So there are a lot of things like that happening, and then we start to see other people reporting, and we're finding resonances, the same kind of data happening through them and through their lives and the way their orientation to this data. So that's why we have to stay with essence and not say my orientation to this data is better than yours, or more clear than yours. Everybody who has the heart to receive this now is going to start receiving this data. So pay attention and don't just dismiss somebody because it's like, oh, they didn't go to college, or they're not super smart, or they don't talk like I do. They don't have the same color skin that I do, or whatever these ridiculous definitions are that people have. This is what blocks you from being advanced forward to know this is happening. And it's coming through all of us, and it's for all of us. And we can't, there's nothing that says that people have to move in this direction. It's just my job at this time. I feel inspired to share from my perspective. This is what it looks like and feels like from my life and through my view. There are many, many, many other views, and they either resonate or they don't. So this is, starting to practice more of how we actually begin to lift ourselves up into this space where we can essentially meet the bridegroom. We can restore our connection, a conscious connection to the unified field and the unified way of being, and build this world. Build the world that was always intended for us, the earth that was always intended for us, and to live that joyfully, creatively, and continue to assist each other in adapting to it. And I just see this as such a joyful celebration, but it's not easy. This does require courage. It does require a conscious will within your being to say, yes, I accept this, and I'm going to claim this. I'm going to claim my inheritance. This is how I was designed by my Creator. So this is happening now. It's happening through this year in a big way. And that's really just what I wanted to report to you. And I will come back and report when I have more data that I feel, or that I'm nudged from within. This might be important for people to hear. So I respond to what emerges from me. And always happy to share it with you. So I wish you well. You have everything that you need to move forward. Don't be afraid of the unknown, because that's where we're going. And we won't have all the answers. We won't have stories about what we're moving into. There may be people's versions of what that looks like I just explained. But that's just visions at this point. This is something that we're going to step into and create together. Or we can choose to contract back into what we know, but isn't necessarily the most healthy option for us. Blessings to you, and know that you've got this.